In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to find your flow so that when you're working or even playing, you can be as productive and happy and joyful as possible. One of the things that happens to us on a constant basis is that we're constantly distracted by notifications from email, from Teams pop ups. We're getting notification on our wrist, on our watch, and it's hard to stay in the flow while we're working, and that creates a disruption in our ability to really get things done at a much better and deeper level. Today, I am focusing on how do we get into the flow to begin with, and then how do we sustain that, and what are some of the benefits that we can achieve when we're in the flow. We can get more creative, we can get more done in a shorter period of time, and think about our project in a way that enhances it and helps us see efficiencies that we might not have been able to see, how to do something faster and better and easier. And it's so much fun when we sit and actually work in a flow state. This episode is going to teach us all the wonderful benefits of getting into that flow state. How do you maintain that? And how you can easily incorporate getting into the flow state in your work or in your life. Hello and welcome. Danette here. Thank you for joining me on the Shine First Today podcast. If you are looking for ways to increase your productivity and reducing stress and anxiety, then you're in the right place. Today, I want to focus our attention on getting into the flow, getting into that flow state. And what I'm talking about is when you're in the flow and you are working single mindedly on one task. I had this experience the other day where I had a lot of work to do around a particular client. There were a lot of moving parts and it was really complicated. I sat down, I allocated a 3-hour window, and I did take breaks, but I sat pretty much for the 3 hours and I focused 100% of my attention on all of the steps involved in this particular project. I noticed a couple of things. First, I noticed that while I was working on it, I was able to identify some inefficiencies in the process itself. As I was working through the various steps, I was able to say, like, why do we do it this way? Wouldn't it be better if I did it this way? How about if I tried this other thing for following up? So while my attention was completely focused on creating this project that I was working on, I was able to also think creatively about how to make it faster the next time, how to make it better the next time. I think when you stop and get distracted and you get pulled away in different directions, I think it's hard to get that higher level of thinking. The other thing I noticed when I was done is I had this really strong sense of accomplishment. I mean, even today, when I think about that 3-hour block of time, I know exactly what I got done. How many times have you gotten to the end of the workday and you've worked from the minute you got to your desk in the morning until the minute you signed off at the end of the day? And how many times have you gone through that whole entire day and said, what did I actually do? Because we are responding to emails, we're responding to phone calls, we're putting out fires, as they say, which I don't like that term, but it does happen. And we're getting pulled in all these different directions throughout the day, and we don't have that sense of accomplishment. A lot of people like marking things off their task list, And I'm certainly one of them because you want to have some feeling of accomplishment. Well, let me tell you that when you can get yourself into the flow state and you're working uninterrupted in flow, it is amazing how satisfying it is and how much you have a feeling later at the end of the day of what you accomplished. It's really indescribable how satisfied I felt at not only accomplishing a big project, but also seeing where the next time it'll be faster because I made so many improvements. So, how do we get into the flow state and how do we maintain it and how do we keep it there? One of the things that happens, particularly to me, is I get a lot of emails throughout the day. And sometimes I get Teams messages, and sometimes I get phone calls. And where I may have started in the morning with a generalized idea of a few things I was going to accomplish that day or wanted to accomplish that day, I can very easily get sidetracked and go down the rabbit hole of answering emails and getting distracted on things that maybe other people wanted me to do. I've been really excited about writing this episode, and I've been thinking about this concept of being in the flow state. The other day, I watched a YouTube video that was suggested to me, and he talks about all the benefits of getting into the flow state, of how your mind can access creativity, which it can't when you are in fight or flight mode, when you're just chasing down emails and things like that. One of the concepts he talked about in the video that I thought was really profound is that he says we are not overworked, we are under recovered. When we are thinking about getting into the flow state, what he suggests in the video, and I'll link to it below, is he suggests moving in and out of the flow state. So, what you want to do is set yourself up for success. And he starts by taking it back to the night before. Sa- He said to get a good night's sleep the day before. He said to turn off your phone, turn your email off, and really prepare the day before for working in a flow state the following day. Now, he has some extreme ideas about doing like extreme flow state. I'm not as interested in that, but I would like to enter the flow state for at least a few hours a day while I'm working. What you can do to get yourself into that flow state is to consciously be aware that that's what you're going to try to do. Consciously be aware of this period of time, whether it's 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, you're going to work in a block of time on a particular project. And as you get ready before the time period starts, you want to set yourself up for success. So turn everything off. Turn off your phone, turn off your email, turn off Teams or any notifications. If you're wearing a watch that has the notifications, turn it off. I went to a retreat a couple weeks ago, and the woman sitting next to me was getting notifications of emails on her wrist, and it was distracting her from doing the meditation. She actually had to take the watch off. And it was a great example to talk about today because we don't even realize how often we're getting interrupted. Having a focused time of where we're only going to work on one thing and remove all of our other distractions is a great way to get into the flow. The other suggestion that I have for getting into the flow is to schedule in and to leverage your peak hours. When are you most productive? When are you feeling really great about working? I like to have 2 flow sessions, one from 9 to 12, the other one from 2 to 5. And before that and after that, I'll check emails. I will respond to phone calls and handle miscellaneous quick tasks in the off times. But in the major times, I sit and try to focus on one thing or a series of things in a predetermined order. I don't get to do it every day. This is something I'm really conscious of, really trying to incorporate into my schedule. But the benefits of getting into that flow state, getting into that state where time sort of seems to disappear, so incredible because you're able to think of not only what it is that you're doing, but how can you do it more efficiently? Or even should you be doing it at all? One of the things I noticed over the last few weeks is that I was doing tasks that I should really have somebody else. Right now, I'm going through a whole process of hiring someone because I was able to identify some of these higher level things like this should be delegated. And you can't get that when you work on something for 5 minutes and then you work on something else for 5 minutes and then you work on something for 10 minutes and then you get interrupted by an email and you know what I'm talking about. The other main benefit, and I talked about this earlier, is that sense of accomplishment. Like that sense of knowing what it is I did today feels amazing compared to before when I would work from morning till night and sometimes into the evening, sometimes like watching TV with my husband at night. And I've still got the computer on. I'm working. I go to bed. I can't fall asleep because I'm still thinking about work. One of the important benefits from the video that I saw on Flow was to, when you're not actively in the flow, be completely out of it. What he said is, I think I said it earlier, we're not overworked or under recovered. So when we get into the flow, we also have to get out of the flow. And that means taking a walk out in nature. That means taking some time to meditate, eat a healthy meal. I think it's as important to protect our time outside of work as it is to be structured while we are in work. And those are two things that I'm really actively trying to incorporate in my own life is this idea of covering and recuperating outside of working inside these flow states. I've really enjoyed talking about getting into the flow state. I hope you got some value from listening to this episode. If you did, please hit the like button. Please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful day.